Hi, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Crime Pays, but Bonnie Doesn't. Today, we're in Western North Dakota, and we're on top of some Paleocene sediments. Paleocene was right after that big comet slammed into the Yucatan and took out the dinosaurs. Okay, so roughly about 65 million years ago to 55 million years ago. We're on some Paleocene sediments. You got your silts, your sands, your clays, your sandstone, even got some coal in there, some lignites, just a bunch of Paleocene sedimentary deposits. And as you can see, the flora in front of me, you got a lot of mint green in there, okay? Not the most charismatic shit when you're not looking at it up close, when you got no context for it. But you look a little closer, there's some really interesting stuff going on. So we're gonna check it out. Now, of course, the Cheyenne and the Sioux were running things around here for well over the last probably 15 to 25,000 years, maybe before that. There was some very charismatic megafauna too, now all gone. But the plants, of course, are still here. You still got some bison, but you know, nowhere near any amounts they used to be around. But they still got a couple kicking around, you know, taking their little dirt baths and with the shit. Anyway, let's take a closer look, see what we got going on. Here we go. We got some Bison Patties. Okay, much prefer this over cow shit, you know, because the cows are just fed antibiotics, just injected with antibiotics. It's in their food, whatever the shit, and they're just spraying everywhere. Okay, yeah, kind of the way like a homeless guy shits under a viaduct in LA. Same thing going on, really repugnant. The bison shit's a little bit more, how do you say, congealed together. Not as repulsive to be around. Could even touch it. Look, you got some, looks like you can still see the fibers in there. Not as bad, huh? Anyway, you can see next to the bison shit, we got this Selaginella densa. Okay, Selaginella, if you've ever heard me rant about them before, very cool lineage of plants, ancient lineage, the spike mosses, and you can see that shit is just forming a little carpet everywhere here. Okay, a lot of Selaginella is poikilohydric, which means that it can completely dry out. It's totally tolerant of desiccation. It just kind of goes into a dormant stage. And then once it gets a little bit cooler, maybe get some moisture, just opens up, starts photosynthesizing again. Okay, pretty incredible stuff. You also got this native species of rose, not in flower over here. There's one there, there's one over there. Really beautiful. Doesn't seem to get too big, just stays kind of short and compact on the prairie. You also got this echinacea angustifolia. You can see, got very hispid. Look at those stiff little hairs, wire-like hairs. And there's the leaves, lanceolate with 3 prominent veins in them. Leaves are also covered in that sandpapery hair as well. Beautiful flower. Look at the phyllaries. Since it's a composite, you got to flip it over. Look at the phyllaries right there, the involucral bracts. And again, this guy's not getting that tall either. Just staying pretty small out here on the prairie. Over here, this looks like Great Basin sagebrush, but when you get a little bit closer, you'll notice that the leaves are not triffid. They're just simple. Just simple leaves. This is Artemisia cana. Smells pretty good though. Smells just like Great Basin sagebrush. They should be tying that shit up, making bundles of it, and selling to hippies and new agers and with the shit, instead of the more rare and unrelated Salvia apiana. Then you can see right here, we got a Rus trilobata. Could be Rus aromatica too. Don't really give a shit though, because it's so hard to tell them apart anyways. I think it's got to do with the fuzz on the leaves. All right, if I cared more, I'd look into it, but I don't. There's the fruits. All you got to know about this is it's in the poison oak family, Anacardiaceae, and it's just one of the 2/3 of the family that does not produce the allergenic compound urushiol. Anyway, that's enough of that. Enough of the Rus. Appreciate it, but nah. Anyway, this one's a lot more interesting. Dahlia purpurea. It's called prairie clover, but it's not related to clover, except for the fact they're in the same subfamily of the pea family, Fabaceae. But this is in the Amorphiae tribe. Okay, really weird, kind of early branching tribe of the Faboideae subfamily, of the pea family, Fabaceae. Okay, look at those flowers. Now, if you know anything about Faboideae subfamily, just look at a typical pea flower. You know anything about the flowers in that subfamily? You know they got the banner, wings, and keel. These do not. These have messed around with that a little bit. All they got is 5 petals, and unlike many members of the pea family, which have 10 stamens, 9 fused together, and then a single one, this only has 5 stamens. And you can see they got all these flowers, bunch of tiny flowers grouped together, all sessile on that whirling inflorescence. Oh, look, there's a fruit forming already. See? Looks like a little bean pod. Huh? Anyway, Dahlia purpurea, the genus Dahlia, it's got about 150 species in it, all over North America. Some very interesting ones in the deserts. Okay, a Morphiae tribe of the pea family, Fabaceae, all right? Lead plant, Amorphocanescens, is in that tribe as well. That's a fucking weird one too, all right? You get that on the, it's a fuzzy plant, you know, little subshrub. You get that in the goddamn prairies as well. Let's keep going. Okay, now here's a rather boring genus in the rose family, but you should at least know what it looks like, and it's always worth noting when you do see it, okay? A lot of them tend to look similar. This one, however, has very distinct leaves, if you look at that. This is Potentilla, colloquially known as cinquefoil, and this is Potentilla pennsylvanica. Look at those bracts subtending those inflorescences. Each inflorescence branch either branches off into more inflorescence branches or terminates in a flower. You can see the flowers are not open yet. But look at those leaves, huh? All frilly and lacy, all right? Divided. They got these teeth on them, huh? How about that? Velvety. Look at the undersides. Look at all the little hairs on there, okay? Adapted to, you know, they're from the Midwest. This species grows in the Midwest, but it's also adapted to drying out. So you plant some shit like this in your garden, you'll be pleasing the pollinators, getting them happy and what the shit. And also maybe you won't have to water as much. Same with these echinaceans. Very drought tolerant plants. I can't believe the shit you see in some Midwest gardens. It's so depressing. Thankfully, more people are growing native plants. There's a fucking wealth of native plants to grow. Really cool stuff. Really cool. So I don't know why people are growing, you know, fucking yews and boxwoods and all this shit. It just makes me die on the inside. Look at that. Here's Euphorbia virgata. Invasive euphorbia. The leafy spurge. It's everywhere though. Does it bleed? Does it? Yeah, see, you got the latex too. You know, it's so, oh, look, it's Crescentinininicovia lanata. You see this out west a lot too. Talk about a drought tolerant plant. Member of the amaranth family. Look at how tiny those flowers are. Need a goddamn hand lens to see what's going on there. You know, like many members of the Amaranthaceae family, not especially the Chenopodioid subfamily, not the most showy flowers, okay? But you got to give it to them because they can sure tolerate the drought. They can tolerate salty soils as well. Anyway, I was going to say, it's nice seeing all the buffalo shit instead of cow shit everywhere. You know, the buffaloes, they make it nice. It's you know, the cows are just fucking depressing. It's just more sign of people everywhere. Well, let's go down here. Look at those badlands. I mean, what, especially with the diarrhea, the cow diarrhea, the smell. Nothing like coming up on a stream and there's just, oh look, it's junipers. Look at it, just growing all prostrate on the ground and with the shit. It's like almost self-rooting. Nah, not really. Maybe. Who knows? Forming a colony. Who knows how long they last for? Got a nice little plant community, a Urus trilobata and your Juniperus communis with your Artemisia cana back there. But anyway, the smell, you come up on a stream and it's just laden with fucking cow diarrhea, just all tramped, you know, and a density that nature would never support because the predators would be there to scare them off. If there were too many, they'd all be dying of disease, maybe starvation. But, and of course, yeah, like I said, the predators would be there just chasing them off. But, you know, we've shot all of them, killed them. Look, got a yucca too. Got a nice yucca. Doesn't get much taller than that, but you'll see a bunch of them flowering on the roadsides. Look at this, another dahlia. I believe it's the only other species you get around here, Dahlia candida. Much easier to see the flowers on this guy, especially when they haven't opened yet. You can see that we're operating with the same thing. 5 stamens and 5 petals, but not the banner wings and keel that's so typical of the Faboideae subfamily. Just coming up right next to the Dahlia purpurea. Do you remember what it was like after the KT extinction, huh? In the Paleocene? Do you remember that? Huh? It was a little rough. Times weren't so easy, but you got some petrified wood, petrified redwood lags. Look at that. Surprised no one's taking that for their little mantle. Look at that. A massive petrified redwood stump. Look at how enormous that was. And again, we are in the Paleocene sediments. So these things, the redwoods apparently made it through that whole comet impact thing relatively unfazed. Probably lost a few species, probably lost some diversity, but they came through and they just started doing their thing again. Look at it. This whole hillside is just covered in permineralized redwood. Permineralized with the silica and with the shit. Would have loved to see those forests. Huh? You always find this stuff in the Badlands because the Badlands are just constantly weathering. You got to think on a large scale. Think if like you had a kid's sandbox, right? And you built a sand castle and then just started pouring the hose over it. It's kind of what's going on here. You know, if you had much more rain than they get, look at that. I mean, you can really see. I found petrified wood before in Oregon that was still fibrous. It was still fibrous. Look at that. That's maybe Metasequoia? Who knows? Look, this one's got a knot in it. Just per mineralized. You know, I don't think we're going to be able to get down. He's doing it anyway. You know why do you do that? Hey, you know what? Jack, come on. What are you doing? He wants to go to the vet apparently. You know, I could see him doing that. He wants to treat so bad he gets himself injured. He's whatever. All right, I'm going to go down this way. Look, Ariagonum glomeratus. Okay, Amaranthaceae, it's an invasive. It's seemingly goddamn everywhere. Kind of succulent. Caryophyllales, of course. A lot of succulent plants in the order of cactus, spinach, quinoa, beets, ice plant, etc. All right, invasive though. It's a kind of a pain in the ass. Kind of forming, well, maybe a monoculture here. I don't know. It's fucking everywhere. What are you gonna do? That's one of the plants where I'm just kind of like, you know. I just whatever. But from the same family, a triplex. You got a triplex. Looks like canescence. Kind of got all the scales on it. Got kind of a strange texture to it. Flowers are not showy. They don't need to be. It's wind pollinated. Amaranthaceae, same family as that Ariagonum. Look at it. You just got a giant piece of redwood permineralized, just still buried in that soil. What did those forests look like? How I would love to know. Got your Juniperus virginiana. We're starting to see a lot of plants of the eastern flora pop up. Look, Antenaria, Nephaliae tribe of the sunflower family. You know, my other rant against cows too would be how stupid they are. They really are. They're truly, it's nothing personal. Nothing personal at all. Just kind of hate them, right? We've bred them to be that way. We've bred them to be stupid, right? Much easier to control. You don't want a bison. You don't want to try and domesticate a bison. It's a pain in the ass. Those things will charge you. They're not afraid. They know they're unfuckwithable. They don't take any shit. Cows will take anything, all right? Just like American consumers. You want them to be stupid. You want to breed them to be stupid so they're easier to control. Look at this naked geology. Look at this. The shales, the mudstones, the sediments. You got the fucking Ariagonum, but who cares? It's fine. We'll just roll with it. We got a composite that I can't quite identify, but it's way past flying. Look at that. And look at these different layers, these layers of iron oxide or more iron-rich sediments. Could look at these all day. Just like sand in a sandbox you're pouring the hose over, just slowly eroding and washing into the Little Missouri River. Look at it. You got the opuntia right there. Got all kinds of interesting lichens and shit on the ground, or is that a cyanobacteria? Could it be nostoc? Might be nostoc. Who knows? But I like this landscape. North Dakota is not boring. Those rolling hills. I like it a lot better when it looks like this than when it's got a strip club, a Walmart, and a come and go on it. But, you know, people will be people. The tumor has to grow. Development is the name of the game. Non-stop development till you run out of space. That's when you go to Mars, I guess. Look at this. Look at that yellow lichen. What is that? Someone's got to do PCR on that and find out what that is. Lichens are incredible. The compounds some of these things are biosynthesizing have to be pretty remarkable too. Isn't that right, Jack? More of those. There's a redwood right there. There's a redwood right there. Just all washing out of the hill. Do you like the color beige? Yeah, I kind of do. I kind of do. And speaking of bison, speaking of buffalo, here is a plant colloquially known as the buffalo berry, from a plant family that we don't encounter too much, okay? From a genus that sometimes you'll see in the American Southwest. This is Shepherdia argentea, buffalo berry, in a family Ariagonaceae, order Rosales. Look at the velvet on those leaves. Flip them over, see that? Little orange berries when they're in fruit. The Shepherdia, the Shepherdia in Utah, you gotta look up. The fucking leaves on that are insane. And the whole thing is just such a weird, the leaves on the Shepherdia that I'm talking about, they just give it this insane form. You look at it, look at the leaves. I would love to get the flowers of this, but it's, you know, it's pretty dry. Probably not gonna happen. You get 3 species in this genus. Shepherdia rotundifolia is the one I've seen in Utah with the crazy form, crazy habit to it. Gets about 4 feet tall. Also got Shepherdia canadensis. Little known genus, but ecologically very important. Got your Dasyphora fruticosa. Oh, it looks like we got an Ariagonum too. Could it be flavum? Which one? Love the buckwheats. Dasyphora fruticosa, of course. Shrubby cinquefoil, yellow flowers, forms a small bush. Look at this guy. Member of the coffee family right there, Gallium boreal. Look at those leaves, quite distinct. Almost look like segmented stems, rubiaceae. See those interpetiolar stipules? It's a big giveaway right there. That kind of line that goes across, that goes entirely across that node right there. Look at this. Got some poison ivy right there. That's not too wholesome, huh? First I've seen that. Looks like we got some Rocky Mountain juniper too. Juniper scopulorum. See how it's a little bit more blue? A little bit more blue. Got a little bit different of a structure than Juniperus virginiana. Look, petrified wood just everywhere, all over the ground. Oh yeah, there's toxicodendron everywhere. It's kind of a drag, huh? Kind of a bummer. But yeah, look at that. We got coming up right next to toxicodendron, Ariagonum flavum, long leaves, long petioles, long leaves. Flip the flowers over. A single involucre. A single involucre per inflorescence branch. It's a bummer this guy's not flowering. This is Thermopsis rhombifolia. Look at that, opposite leaves kind of waxy. Without that triphid structure, without those 3 leaves together, you might almost think that this was some kind of milkweed if it wasn't branching, like if you just seen it coming out, like right there. Kind of looks like a milkweed. Prairie false lupine, from the peat family, Fabaceae. God, I love these soils. Look at this. Look at this. Look at it. So see out there, you're getting to older rocks, older sediments. Might even find the KT boundary down there. But up there, you still got all the, that's the layer where all the redwoods are coming out of. In fact, I can see a stump right there. There's another stump right there. I could see a stump right there too. This must have been an extensive Metasequoia forest. Metasequoia or sequoia. Probably Metasequoia. Look at how the Juniperus communis is just holding this whole ridge together. Just holding it together. Apparently the poison ivy doesn't like growing up here. A little too dry for it. Likes the more protected ridges. Prick. Paleocene, Eocene, thermal maximum. Do you like the way that just rolls off the tongue? Is that going to be your new safe word when you're doing whatever with whoever you're with? That's fine. Could be. Hopefully you look up that period of time. Real interesting. Redwood forests in the Arctic. Wild shit going on everywhere. Okay? The dinosaurs had just checked out. The mammals were having their heyday. There were mammalian orgies in the subtropics all over the place and what this shit. Oh, look at this. What's this? I can't even get it out the rock. Looks like it's intrusive igneous, and it's been rounded by a stream a little bit, perhaps. Another Artemisia. No, that's the Atriplex. Never mind. They're all the same color. You got your mossy moss on the ground and what the shit. Petrified wood every which way. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Okay. All right. Go steal a pressure washer from Home Depot. Just kidding. But if you do, I'm in the market for one. Let me know. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Go fuck yourself. Bye. You see, this is all the stuff, all the messy mess coming down everywhere from this guy. From this fossil Metasequoia. I knew a cuprous tree bark and tree rings when I see one. Look at it. Look at it. Look, it's a gnat. It's a knob. Formerly taxodioid. Not just in good old cupressaceae. The cypress, redwood, juniper family. Capressioiderotica.com. Can you imagine what these forests must have looked like? Holy shit. It's wild to think about. And they were extensive too. You got tree trunks in every one of these fucking buttes. Take me back to the Paleocene, you prick. Can you imagine all the fucking all the species that never got fossilized, or whose fossils just haven't been found yet? Imagine all the shit we'll never know existed. It always blows my mind thinking about it. It's crazy that corresponds to a distinct year, sometime 60 or 65 million years ago. What was that year like? Look, this little chip corresponds to a specific year. I mean, it's how do you even comprehend that? What was alive on the planet at that time? What did the planet look like? And now here it is, just eroding out of a hillside in the middle of nowhere. We got a carrot. Mucinion divaricatum. Just growing out of the slope right here, amidst all the petrified wood chunks and little bits. Another interesting pea. Here's wild licorice. Glycyrrhiza lepidota. Look at those beans, spiny bean fruits. There's the foliage. It's rhizomatous, so it kind of spreads by these spreading rhizomes. White flowers, little white pea flowers when it is flowering. And there's the fruits right there. A bunch of tiny little seeds inside each one of those bean pods. Oh, how about that? Not flowering, but still nice to see. Escobaria missouriensis. Coming up with the somewhat much more boring prickly pear. Somewhat much. Anyway, Escobaria missouriensis. Little bastard of a cactus. Almost looks like a mammillaria. Quite common, quite cold hardy. Oh, you could see he's got a fruit forming in there. Here's that dried up flower with the fruit at the base of it. It'll turn bright red when it's ready, and hopefully be picked off and dispersed by a bird or rodent. See, there's another one just hiding out. Just hiding out, never standing a chance of being eaten by any grazing herbivores. Just right down there with the Selaginella densa, the spike moss. Spike moss, poikilohydric. Oh yeah, here's a nice one. Astragalus crassicalis. You can see the fruits right there. Large fruits, especially for an astrag. Pop it open, tons of tiny seeds inside. I might have to take some of these and try to grow them. Should be pretty easy to grow. Love all the astragalus. Huge genus, and kind of a pain in the ass to key out and identify. This is a small individual, but you could see it left its seeds right there. That pinnate foliage on another bean. And look at this. Look, liatris. You got a giant goddamn corm in the ground. That's more just like a thick tuberous root. Thick tuberous root, full of energy. The shooting stars. You'd never know how nice this was if you walked by it and it wasn't blooming. If you didn't know it already. There you go. It's a little early for this. They should be going off in about a month, maybe 2 weeks. Beautiful, vivid pink flowers. Okay, same tribe as stevia in the sunflower family. The Eupatoriae tribe with those long-ass styles. Okay, if you live east of the Rocky Mountains, you know liatris. What a fucking incredible genus. Some really wild ones out there too. And then coming up on some of that Badlands topography, on those eroding hillsides, those road cuts, we got Ariagonum pauciflorum. Look at that guy. How many involucres? How many involucres per inflorescence branch? Quite a few. Looks like 6 or 7. And then each one of those involucres has a few little white flowers spilling out of it. Look at it, nice woody caudex spreading, occupying the dried sites where nothing else can. Look at those leaves, so fuzzy on both abaxial and adaxial surfaces. Kind of an undulate margin on some of them. Woody stem, whitish, chalky blue leaves. And here you go, just forming a little colony like it tends to do. This is snowbush in the honeysuckle family, Loniceraceae. This is Symphoracarpos alba. And like many members of this family, the flowers on this smell absolutely incredible. Very pleasant. 5 stamens, 5 distinct petals, opposite leaves, like many members of the family. And just a tiny calyx down there. You see all those green sepals. And then, of course, when they're in fruit, little white snowberries. Look at this guy. Blue flax. Prairie flax. Linum lewisii. See, there's the fruits maturing. Still got a flower on there. Still got 1 flower going off. 5 petals. 5 stamens. Striations on the petals. And this is kind of weird. 5 styles and 5 stigmas atop each one of those styles. Linear leaves. Just kind of nodding and bobbing in the wind, in the prairie wind. Ooh, that's nice. Ooh, that kind of gets me hot. These nice sentiments of paranoia and suspicion that you sometimes see in rural America. Ooh, you are being watched. Don't threaten me with a good time. Huh? If I know someone's watching, I'll start doing sick voyeuristic shit. You'll see me out here in a garter belt and panties, wearing a top hat, holding a cane, sashaying around to New York, New York. And maybe that's what they want, though. That might be the case. Lots of repression in some of these places, especially when you mix it with the evangelism. I just got a speeding ticket from a cop. I wasn't even going that fast. It was a speed trap in these small towns. He was a nice enough cop, though, with that loving North Dakota accent. Oh, yeah. Hey, don't worry. We're not going to nickel and dime you like California, really. Anyway, Asclepias speciosa. Strange to see it here, because I'm only familiar with the California populations. You can see these are a little bit more pink. Anytime you want to identify a milkweed species, got to look at the hoods. Look at the horn, look at the hoods, see what they're doing, what shape they take, where they're projecting out, and look at the horns as well. Look at that. That is a goddamn ant mound. Look at that. They've really put some time into that. Anyway, let's take a walk up to the top of this little hill and look at the rolling plains. Now see, coming up the hill, we got our Echinacea angustifolia, got our Rosa woodsii, we got Dahlia purpurea, and right here, we got the base of an ecosystem, Shepherdea argentea. And you can see it's just stretching off into all the little creeks and draws out there, okay? It's one of the dominant plants here, along with that Dasyphora, all right? The berries are important food for the grouse. The leaves are important browse for the deer. Okay, berries are also edible by people, but more importantly, okay, and these form little colonies. This might all be the same plant. They form little colonies that sprout from the roots, all right, and especially can tolerate burn, but more importantly, they're nitrogen fixing, all right? They're one of a group of plants, all rosids, I believe, that associate with what's called actinorhizal bacteria, all right, actinomycetes in the genus Frankia. Okay, a lot of plants in the buckthorn family do the same thing. Some plants in the rose family do the same thing. So they're fixing nitrogen, taking it out of gas form in the atmosphere and putting it into that soil, all right? Using some of it, putting it into the soil, especially when they die. But you could see it's a very important plant here on these rolling plains at the western edge of the prairie. Too bad we didn't catch it in flower or fruit, but now you know. I mean, you can see it's just dominating her. And look at that, we got that damn species of phlox that always looks like a spike moss, except when it's flowering and it's got little white polemoniaceous flowers. Got an astragalus in there too. Look at that, just coming up on the rocks. You'll never see this grow, yeah, because it can't compete with the grass, except here where the grass can't get up. So it dominates those thin soils and those rock outcroppings. Look at those clouds. Look at those clouds. See the rolling green hills? Due to the fact that the terrain is not perfectly flat, you get some buttes, you get some erosion, you get some badlands. We're on top of one right now. Soil's a little bit thinner here, and because of that, you get a change up in the plant community from just grass. See, we got Escobaria right there. Looks like Escobaria missouriensis. You can see those fruits should be turning red any minute now. They already flowered. Got your little tubercles, each top with looks like a dozen radial spines. Got some Sphaeracea. Got more of that Artemisia cana. Whole bunch of prickly pear, whole bunch of opuntia. You got a yucca over there too. Can you imagine what it must have been like when the buffalo were here? When the buffalo were doing their thing. Herds 1 million or 2 million strong, just stretching across the plains. You still got the pronghorn here, still got some deer, but most of the buffalo are gone. Got a couple herds left. You know, also I can't help but think what an amazing place this would be to go on some sort of shamanic journey. Just dose yourself with psychedelics and just, you know, go deep. It's really like a lush green landscape of rolling hills and few people. It doesn't get much more perfect than that. Such a beautiful landscape, such an underappreciated landscape. The plains are incredible. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. I mean it this time. I really mean it. Why don't you have a lovely rest of your evening? Go fuck yourself. Bye.